Yeah, it's not hard.
And
You
then
just
when you
gotta
get
watch
right
some
back
YouTube
into this.
videos.
Oh crap!
Yeah? Hello?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. It's like, oh crap, and it goes quiet.
Sorry. I
It's
was
all good.
closing this game out and I saw
No,
um,
oh.
this defender running at my guy, and I was like, "Oh crap!" Well, I'm closing it out anyway, so it doesn't matter.
How do we sound? Are we good?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
got to go back through the motions now.
I know.
I think we sound.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yeah, we sound pretty good.
Oh, Joseph.
I know, man. How you been, dude?
Well, I feel like it's a complicated answer because, on the one hand, like we had talked about, I think yesterday, I finished my yearly watch of the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And
Yes, you did.
Joseph, and this is not, I am very confident that this is not like hyperbolic when I say this. Like we talk about this a lot. It's first of all, it's the greatest trilogy that's ever been made
Yes, hands down.
in movie form. Right? I guess you don't really do trilogies with television or whatever, but like it, as far as like cinema is concerned, it is. And at one point, I'm not sure I would say, because like I know, like I count it as a trilogy, and then we've talked about this with my movie list. It's one movie to me because you can't.
Yes.
It requires you to watch the entire thing to understand what's going on. You can't just watch
To be fair,
Fellowship.
the book is actually
Is one book,
one
yeah, it's
book
one
as well.
story.
Yeah.
But obviously they split it into three, and then we call it trilogy. It's just it's the semantics of the language or whatever. It's just semantics. But it is, as a trilogy, it might be like my favorite movie.
It's goated, dude.
It's
I mean, it has to be the greatest of all time. Trilogy. Go ahead.
it is not the only like when I talk about the stuff that I think is like the best, and I think people kind of like get us wrong sometimes, and this is kind of something I've realized from having these conversations in real life occasionally. I think people get it wrong that it's like, because people call me like too critical. They call me all, whatever. It's not like it matters to me. I've been called far worse things. But
Welcome to the club.
exactly. But there's kind of a reason for it. And it's because a movie trilogy, whatever, like Lord of the Rings, is so masterfully made that I look at a majority of what we're getting from film these days, television or otherwise, and I'm just like, it's just not the same. It's not the same in the sense of Lord of the Rings or, like Terminator 2 is one of my favorite movies. Even like The Prestige. I mean, like Godzilla -1's probably the closest thing that we've gotten in a long time for me. Like that I get similar emotions and love the setups and payoffs, and there's like very few things in there that I would even care to maybe point out as like a small criticism. And then I would say, like, because the part where Denethor in Return of the King, like it's kind of a well-known thing that people talk about, where it's like there's no way he would have been able to run all the way on fire. And I thought about it, and I was like, okay. I was like, if I was in Peter Jackson's position and someone was like, yeah, but what about that one part or whatever, in a movie or a trilogy like that is just so well done, I'd be like, who cares, dude? It's cool. You know what I mean?
Because it's a good shot, bro.
Yeah, like, and we'll get into a movie that I don't think's very good today, but when you have something that is just so masterfully made and they make a creative decision that doesn't completely make sense, I don't really care. Like, it works so well thematically.
It's not egregious.
No, and it's
about the length that someone can run versus so you think about that, or you think about when Frodo and Sam are out Mountain Doom and the lava explodes.
Oh, dude, everyone loves to bring that up.
we talk about, every fantasy world has a set of rules, and Tolkien specifically is very grounded in reality.
Yeah.
Now, there's a difference between what you're talking about and then also Frodo and Sam at Mountain Doom when it explodes versus, taking a pyroclastic flow to the face, like happens in Rings of Power, right? There's two different realms of, okay, I can suspend my disbelief for these two things. Yeah, Denethor in real life probably not going to run that far, and when he's on fire, he's probably going to die way before that.
Yeah, I mean,
but like that's a lot different than if Denethor got shot with, or let me phrase it like this: if Galadriel got shot, or I don't even have to say, Galadriel falls from a 500-foot mountain.
Yeah. Yep.
Or someone gets shot with arrows 50 times. What if Boromir had lived right in the midst of all that?
Yeah, he just shows back up.
There's things that break immersion, and then different rules within your fantasy world that don't break immersion when everything else around it is so well done.
Exactly. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not like I've spent that much time around volcanoes, but people have gotten close to lava before and they've been all right. So like I that one haven't ever bought into,
Right.
Whereas the Denethor one, I'm just like, yeah, I get it, but I don't care. And that's watching it this time. I realized that because I was like, you have a situation that is ultimately like so tragic for that character, and him basically burning alive and then running off, the top of the city, just has like a lot of thematic significance, and it just looks cool. It looks so good. Oh man, I love that. I love that movie so much. Return of the King, man. Like that
scene.
Yeah.
And Theoden goes up and gives the speech.
Yeah, the death speech.
I think it's the charge of them to continue to say death.
Yep.
As they do it. And
it's that. I mean, like we were talking about that because that scene's such a big, like it's such a big deal for everybody involved in it.
Yep.
And Theoden obviously doesn't have any sort of like foresight or whatever, but he kind of knows what's going to happen, especially for him personally. And oh my gosh, dude, you could spend so much time talking about like nearly every frame of it. And there's something about every time he like gives the speech or whatever, and because I think because he has two specific like lines that kind of stick with me, and he's like, "Ride now for ruin and the world ending," and like that. And what's so great about it is it's not a situation where like they're basically fighting with very little chance of surviving for the fate of humanity. And it's just like the stakes in that are so good, and I love that. It's not just like it's not sort of your typical like war type thing, especially like these days, man. Like, and that's why like sometimes I think I'm just like I'm so cynical about certain things because it's hard for me to watch like war movies now that are like based on true events with like context behind those things. Like they become so much more tragic to me, and they try to sometimes paint them in these very like noble ways, which may like kind of be true in isolation, but then when you like look at the big picture, it's just always tragic.
But
And
I think on top of that, it's these stories are based in nihilism versus trying to be hopeful and uplifting and doing the right thing and maintaining your honor and integrity to protect those you love, even in the face of certain death.
It's why the one with Andrew Hacksaw Ridge. It's one of the reasons I really like that one, because it's not sort of like typical to those stories, and his story isn't typical, and his willingness to do what he did despite his like personal beliefs is like really cool to me. And maybe it's just me getting older. Maybe it's not the cynicism. Maybe I'm just getting older, and like the way that I view things is very different than it used to be. And so there's like certain things that just like hit me so much more. And I was going to say, it's really funny to me because for ages, probably since the first time I ever watched any of the Lord of the Rings movies in the theater, Fellowship's always been my favorite, pretty decidedly. And a lot of it is because like I've always really liked the build-up, and I love the set pieces, and it's just so that one almost like even in isolation is just so good. Obviously, there's like so much that's left open at the end. But honestly, dude, I feel like the older I get, Return of the King just keeps creeping into that. And I love Two Towers as well.
I was telling you, it depends on my season.
Your season of life, yeah. And maybe that's kind of where I'm at now. Is it's just each one of those has sort of a different. I feel differently about each one of them depending on where I'm at. But I still love the first one so much, dude. And especially as I've gotten older and like the context behind like Boromir has changed for me. Because I think, especially if like you were introduced to the movies first, it's easy for you to follow. Like we talked about this a while back when I first started this like list or whatever. That I kind of not gotten into it, but was disagreeing with one of the guys that I work with because he's like, oh no, Boromir's just this like evil SOB, like he's terrible. I'm glad he died, and you're just kind of like, brother. And even I was like, watch first of all. Yeah, first of all, I was like, you got to watch the rest of the movies. And then, like, even after that, he wasn't fully willing to admit that. And I'm like, all right. I mean, it's an incorrect understanding of the character or his family. And probably wasn't paying attention to Faramir or Denethor, like, talking to each other about, in Return of the King specifically, I think. And so it's just really interesting, and I've seen them enough that I swear like there's certain things that I very much know and remember about those movies, and then I go back and watch them again, and it's either something I've forgotten or something I just never noticed before. Every time I watch them, and it's like little interactions or things that, again, maybe it's just a season of life where certain things mean more to me than they did before. And I think actually it's in Two Towers. There's a moment where Gimli gets threatened by the Rohirrim when they all surround him, when they see him out in the field, and Legolas without hesitation like draws his bow on one of them. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, it's because they like each other. And it's so funny because there's moments in that movie where I'm very aware of that, but that one, it just clicked with me more this last time I watched it than any of the other times I've watched the movie. It wasn't out of like Legolas trying to protect himself. It's because he's trying to protect Gimli. And I was like, and I literally was just like, they just don't make stuff like this anymore. They don't write stuff like this anymore. And it's so simple. Like the concept of
That's what I'm nervous about with the Hunt for Gollum.
Oh, bro, I have no hope.
Why would they pick to tell a story of a character whose arc is completed that wasn't that popular. Well, I mean, he was popular. Don't get
Popular,
me wrong,
sure, but
but you know what I mean.
he's not
When I say
typical.
popular, I mean like
He's
they
not
dropped a game
typically.
that bombed.
Yeah.
It's like he's popular, but not in the sense that it's we got to have him in this movie. Like Gollum's #1. He's all this stuff. He's popular because of everyone else around him.
Yeah.
And he does have a tragic story. Don't get.
Oh
Gollum
yeah,
is
it's
popular,
great.
it's
I know what
different.
you mean.
It's
He's
not
not
like making an Aragorn movie.
If I was to go ask a bunch of people who have seen the movies, like who's your favorite character, it's probably not going to be Gollum. Like he's not popular in that sense. I very much like everything that they do with him, but he's not it. He's not someone that I like connect to in any real way. Like I feel for him. There's a lot of tragedy in that. I understand on kind of like you could call it maybe a meta level, like the whole thing with like addiction and the power that the ring has over people, and specifically Gollum and the tragedy behind that. But it doesn't do the same thing for me as like Theoden and Gimli and Boromir. I mean, like so much of the cast.
Exactly.
And they're just like characters. It just like means more to me on like a personal level, which is where kind of like my favorites come from, and specifically Treebeard, because, and I think this is that the older I get, the more Treebeard becomes one of my favorite characters, book and screen adaptation. It's one of my favorite.
Jenna.
It's one of my favorite. What's up, Jenna? It's one of my favorite parts from the books. Like it's. I read Two Towers a couple of years ago, and I was on a plane when I was reading the chapter, or like I think it's like the major chapter with Treebeard in it, where he's walking with Merry and Pippin and kind of talking about the forest and like sort of the tragedy behind the Ents and the Entwives, and I was on this plane like tearing up. Just like wiping away tears because I'm like, oh my gosh. And then, of course, in the movie, and he's like, I can't remember which one of them asked him, but they're like, whose side are you on? And he's like, side. He's like, I'm on no one's side. And he's like, because no one is on my side, And again, it's like the older I get, I'm just like, yeah, dude. I was like, I rock with Treebeard pretty hard. He kind of wants to be left alone and doesn't have like a ton of concern for the outside world, but is forced into it, not by his own will in a way. And it just there's something great about that, man. And oh my gosh, I could spend this entire podcast just talking about this movie.
Think about how awesome it would have been if the Rings of Power, if Amazon was able to actually build upon.
Oh my gosh!
That was told,
yeah, if they actually cared.
We got.
Oh my.
Yeah, because of Jennifer Salk thing.
It's why
she's out, but it doesn't sound like she was replaced with anybody
no,
better.
No.
I mean, surely it can't get worse than. I mean, we always say this. It can't get worse.
And it just does, dude.
And it does.
Gosh, remember Arcane season 2?
Oh, dude. Don't remind me, man. Depressing.
Why is David in a toilet?
Why is David in a toilet? I don't know. David, why are you on the toilet right now?
Sitting on a toilet. Sitting on a toilet.
Does the audio sound like that? Let me see. I'll listen.
Is it me? Joseph is definitely in a can. Oh. Maybe it's dude. Maybe it's Jenna.
I don't know. Maybe it is Jenna. But yeah, we always
nah,
say
dude. You guys sound fine.
Then, yeah, I tested it too.
Yeah.
And then it does, and it's just, what are we doing here?
Jenna, go get your ears checked.
HBO that in these studios that they can hire me to be a yes and no man, or just a no man. I'll take a meek. Hey, listen, if they pay for my travel expenses, my rent, my vehicle, and then pay me after taxes a meager $200,000 a year. That's after taxes. That's what I go off of, not gross. Dude, listen, like, I'll save them so much money.
I know.
Just even I would be Batgirling so much stuff.
And then you're also like, by the way, release Batgirl. We want to see it. Put it on HBO Max. Whatever you got, just put it out there.
This was canned.
We need to know.
Even though I'm canning all this stuff.
Release the Batgirl. All right. So, Joseph, we have 3 things to talk about of various lengths as far as like how much we might actually talk about them.
Yes.
Do you have a preference?
No, surprise me. Oh, yes. Let's start with the terrible first and The Last of Us.
Yeah.
Because I see that you have that.
And, my little Pedro Pascal image. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I haven't touched it since the last time we talked about it. I think I got one more episode further than you did. I have missed you guys. Glad I could finally catch a show. Jenna, we're glad to see you too. We're still trucking along. We're not gonna let this thing just like die out, even if Joseph and I are busy. Gonna keep going. Yeah, dude, I don't care anymore. I don't care. There's nothing keeping me interested in it.
After Pedro died, I was like, I am not. Why? It's the same thing. It's like I watched the first 2 episodes of The Wheel of Time, newest season. I know, just the first episode, and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. Last of Us, watch the first 2 episodes. I'm not doing that. And it's just, what's the point? It's, I knew what it was going to be. I knew it was going to like. I mean, not like in the sense of you actually knew what was going to happen from that point.
Right.
I just knew in the sense of, I know how this bull crap typically goes. I know what's going to happen in the next episode. I know how this is going to end, and I bet season 3 is going to be all about probably Abby or something.
Well, the actress, I think it was the actress who plays Abby, said that season 3 is going to focus on her because they don't have anything else. Yeah, but they don't, and they've announced season 3, and it's the most logical choice. But it's like, guys, who's watching this? They're not watching it now.
I would rather.
Oh, dude.
I almost want to watch the WNBA rather than The Last of Us. Almost. But it would have to be a Caitlin. Actually, I take that back. I'd rather watch Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese play against each other than watch anything with The Last of Us.
Yeah, they've ruined it. And I didn't click on it because like it's part of me just doesn't really care about The Last of Us anymore. I mean, I admire the first game still, but everything else I'm just kind of like, whatever, man. Like it doesn't matter. It might as well not exist. And it's just not interesting, and I'm tired of like spending so much time just like beating my head against a wall trying to get through seasons of television that I don't like.
Want to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were making, releasing long format videos on YouTube and releasing,
I get that,
TikToks and shorts and stuff like that about it, and those are doing really well.
Sure.
Then yeah.
Some people
without
find
that added like carrot, so to say.
Sure.
I'm just tired of watching crap.
Yeah.
I don't have
to have the same reaction.
Yeah, just to say the same things I've said and that other people have said
over and over again
already.
And it's not
like I don't want to be a broken record. And
exactly.
If there are people who are enjoying, if there are people who like dog crap, I want to allow them to enjoy dog crap.
Yeah. Well, that kind of segues into the next thing because one of the guys that I work with, he went and saw Thunderbolts and wouldn't stop telling me to go see it. And I was like, yeah, dude. I was like, I'm going to get around to it. I was like, friend of the show, Justin, he wanted to see it. He was, and I was like, all right. I was like, I'm morbidly curious enough about this because it was getting like stupid good reviews.
Yep.
And not that I trust that stuff, but it felt like overwhelmingly positive. And I was like, all right. I was like, let's see if this changes my mind. Well, Joseph, it didn't. It still sucks. It's not a good movie. And it's like
about Marvel's version of the Suicide Squad is not a good movie, I'm so shocked, and I
It's
still
you know what the
cannot
most
express how much I don't care about anything past Endgame
yeah.
for Marvel.
I'll say
They
this.
should have just
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. They should have just reset the whole thing. They stopped using interesting characters, and it's like all this B and C tier stuff that they're trying to make A tier, because it's like, yeah, Iron Man was the same case, but like, man, lightning in a bottle is like kind of a thing. You just like you strike gold
David,
with something.
Say what you want to say, but Echo was just
yeah.
A Z tier character that everybody was thinking was gonna really pop.
Forgive me. I'm so ready for spring to be over. My allergies are killing me.
On the same note that you're talking about, I hate when people go back to Iron Man or they use Guardians of the Galaxy, where those were, Iron Man being a B tier character for Marvel,
sure,
and then Guardians of the Galaxy being C, D, E, F, whatever you want to say. And
well, you know what the difference is, right?
But what I'm trying to say is what you just said. There's only so many times you can capture lightning in the bottle, and then also you're not going down to the weeds for those characters like you are with Echo and some of these other characters, as I understand it, when it comes to Marvel Comics.
Well, they also, like Iron Man is a good movie. Guardians of the Galaxy is a good movie.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy because like I've got a lot of problems with Winter Soldier, but even watching like the Thunderbolts isn't on Winter Soldier's level. It's got a lot of problems, some of which are not its own fault. But dude, it is the chattiest movie. Characters cannot shut up. Like everyone is constantly like it's just like sitting there watching it, and it's got I'll be honest, it's got like world building. It's got tons of world building problems, but I don't care to talk about any of that stuff anymore because the people who were like liking this, they just don't care, and everybody else is checked out. And so, because I had told the guy, I was like, "Well, listen, I was like, I'm gonna make a bunch of notes." I was like, if I'll let you know. And then I finished it, and I was like, I just don't even care. I was like, I can't even bother to be like invested in a negative way towards it. Because it's so
dude,
forgettable.
Sorry. I have a family emergency. I gotta go, dude.
Oh no.
Yeah, dude. Sorry.
Cool. That's okay. Well, everyone, we gotta cut this episode short, unfortunately. And we'll talk about Nobody next week. Bye, guys.
All right, see you, dude.
Bye, Jenna. Sorry we had to cut it short. I know. I'll try to do some Ocarina of Time streams soon. And we'll get back to it. But Nobody 2 looks awesome, so hopefully we are correct about that. But we'll talk about it next week. Can't help the family emergencies. All right, y'all have a good night.